Dr. Scott Geise. Hey, Scott, how you doing today?
Excellent. How are you doing, Steve?
Doing so good, thanks. First off, tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Yeah, I'm a small town kid. Always had, uh, I guess, the thought of going on to school and trying to do something more so than my father had done in the past. Wanted to attend college and eventually have a great career. But my goal was always to come back to Newfane, where my parents were, my family was, my brothers were still here. Went on to dental school eventually for a couple of years, and then came back to my small hometown of Newfane, New York. Um, but yeah, just kind of my goal growing up was to do something special in my hometown, and that's what I was hoping to do.
So, you went to dental school, you did all those things, you came back home. I'm assuming you opened up a dental practice then?
Yeah, I purchased the practice from, actually worked with, and then finally purchased the practice from my hometown dentist growing up. It took me about 10 years to buy him out of the practice. Found that the practice patient base was so large that I couldn't do it out of the same facility. So I built a brand new 4,000 square foot building dental complex, kind of state of the art. I went to a 2 day design course so I could design my own dental office, and did. And it turned out to be this just a beautiful setting. The town jumped on board. I had lots of referrals. My patients loved it. The community loved it. And so, yeah, I spent the first from 2001 through 2009 uh, working out of the same dental office in Newfane.
So, hometown kid makes good, comes home, sets things up. Sounds like the perfect, kind of American dream story. And yet it didn't stay that way. So, give us an idea what ended up happening.
Yeah, so in 2000 and gosh, 2006, actually 2005, summer of 2005, I was doing some work in my house. I hired a guy who was the husband of one of my former hygienists. The hygienist had left my practice, supposedly to go to a more lucrative hygiene management position at another practice. Um, an associate I had at the time had just left. I actually fired her because she was building a practice up the street, and rather than having her take more of my patients away, I had to fire her as soon as I found out. She ended up hiring that same hygienist, and they'd started their own practice up the street from my practice that I had just built. Not soon after, I was approached by this uh, husband of the hygienist, who then showed me a bill that he had presented to a union for payment for health care that he had done, but none of it had been done. It was all dental procedures and things. So with that, the union had been checking into some of these false bills. When the hygienist found out that they were looking at her, somehow she made a deal with the FBI, and somehow they started coming after me. So in 2006 is really when I caught wind of anything that was going to happen as far as the legal matters that were going to take over my life after that.
Wow. And so, through things that happen all the time in business with problems with employees and stuff like that, you end up finding yourself embroiled in this deep legal battle that ended up causing you quite a bit of chaos.
It was total disruption. So for through 2006, of that entire year, I was forced to hire a defense attorney. The criminal defense attorney didn't seem to get why I was a target, but somehow I was. And as he talked to the prosecutor pushing the issue, I don't even know where the union is. I've never been to the union. I could care less about the union. And I don't even, at the time, I didn't even know if they had dental insurance or not. So whatever this bill was submitted, um, I didn't see how it could possibly have been paid anyways, because if they had no dental, there's no way that it could be used or put back in my court The only reason why it was put back at me is because it was on my stationery. It was on an old piece of stationery from the former office. Once I moved over to the new office, obviously I would have put everything on the new stationery, but this is on an old piece of stationery from the former location.
So, I mean, it sounds a lot like they were setting you up on purpose. Um, so, at the end of the day, did things get resolved, or is it still kind of up in the air?
So you'll have to read the book because it's too long of a story to tell. But time went on. Time went on. By the end of 2006, my criminal defense attorney called me and told me that the prosecutor was going to indict me. And I said, and asked him on what? It makes no sense to me. And he said that they wanted to have more time to look into the issue. We're talking the government, and so he had me sign a waiver of the statute of limitations for this bill that was submitted in 2002. 5 years later is the end of the statute of limitations. So in January of 2007 they wouldn't have been able to go after that any longer. Well, my attorney convinced me that they were going to indict me, just before Christmas in 2006 if I didn't sign the waiver. So again, I've learned that once you're indicted, you're pretty much done. There's really, you know, your your reputation, your integrity, everything's questioned after that. So I didn't want anything to happen to that. So I agreed to sign the waiver as long as, whatever they wanted information wise, I was willing to provide because there's really no reason why it should come back towards me. So we signed the waiver. And in 2007, then is when um, my lawyer started to get a little worried about things. He wasn't receiving any information from the government. So by June of 2007, they had come up with a 9-count indictment against me. So now I'm in the game, and as far as the legal system goes, and I was arraigned in court. I think it was June 26th of 2007. Again, I pled not guilty. I thought it was all a bunch of BS, um, but again, I had to work my way through it. So beginning in June of 2007 is when my kind of nightmare began.
Wow. And of course, everybody needs to read the book, see all of the stuff that you went through, and then, see where you did finally come out at the end. I mean, obviously, you're not in prison right now. We can tell from your background that you're living someplace a little better than, maximum security facility would
That's for sure.
be.
That's for sure. But
All right.
it was a long haul, and again, it's like I think the issue is when it comes down to an arraignment and indictment, you're supposed to go to trial 70 days later. As soon as I go in front of a lawyer or the judge and say, hey, to try to find something, even if it is another bunch of BS, it doesn't make any difference. They can just continue to delay things to the point where I have to keep paying a lawyer. My patience, it's now there's an indictment. Now it's out in the paper. Now my reputation is being pounded. Patients are starting to leave me because of it. So they just bleed you dry. So yeah, once the indictment comes down, that's when crap happens. And if I could have fought it within the next 70 days and won, fantastic. But that's not how it goes. We didn't even get discovery, so I'm supposed to get discovery immediately. Whatever the government's got against me, I should find out what it is. We didn't get discovery until November of 2006. So we're talking, 6 months later. And even at that point, they didn't give us everything. They just ended up putting through another superseding indictment on issues again, that were absolutely unrelated to the original bill or whatever it was that was submitted through the union. So it just got compounded bigger and bigger. Throw as much crap against the wall, something will stick. Well, that's kind of how that all went.
Wow. So, and I don't know whether we should let people know, other than, of course, that they can tell that you're not in prison right now. But we'll just go this far with it. Is life starting to get back to normal now?
So it took me after a 1-year prison sentence. I did come home because of the conviction. I ended up losing my dental license, which was absolutely the worst I think could have happened. Because again, I've got to provide for my family. I've got to, my patients want me to come back. Things, I had to I had to sell my practice. Without a dental license in New York State, you can't own a practice. So I had to sell it. So all those things that I had built up, I had to lose. Um, and so now after 6 years, I didn't get my licensure back until 2018. After 2018, I was able to find another job working at a different dental office because mine's already sold off and I can't go back anymore. So now I've got to find a new home. I've been at that new home for some years now. So that was May of 2018. And I'm still at the place called the Smile Center in Cheektowaga in Buffalo, New York.
So many life lessons, and it would be impossible for us to go through. Plus, again, they got to read the book in order to learn all of them. But what's one thing that you've learned in this that you wish you would have known before you started into the whole thing?
Yeah, I think if you're ever accused of anything, the best thing to do would be, first of all, to not keep your mouth shut. Don't talk to anyone on the other side of things, the government, until you've had a chance to speak with a lawyer. Even though it's going to cost you some money, it's not gonna destroy you. So I would say keep your mouth shut. Talk to a lawyer. Learn as much as you can about criminal law that you can, as quick as you can. Um, and just realize that there's rules that the government has to follow. And if anything, you have to be your own advocate and make sure that they're following those. I mean, sometimes criminal defense lawyers, for whatever reason, don't keep them under check, and they take advantage, and you give them an inch, they take a foot. You give them a foot, they take a yard. You give them a yard, they take a whole football field. And I'm telling you, that's kind of how the story went. So you have to be aware of what the rules are. Believe me, it's not fun reading, but it's something that everybody should know. And the book really kind of points those things out so that people have a much better footing if this were to happen to them.
So, what's next for you now? What are you looking forward to now that you've got a future ahead of you and stuff?
So I'm super happy being able to serve my patients that I have now. I would have loved to have been back in my hometown doing it to the people that I already know, but they have someone here that's doing that for them, and I'm happy for that. I still own the properties where that dental office is. I'm the landscaper down there. I'm the guy outside taking care of the facility. So I'm still in new things going there. Um, yeah, I guess from here on out, it's I'm looking forward to my children being successful in their own lives, and then hopefully being a grandfather someday. Just family stuff. I'm taking care of my patients at the office, and I just want to be with my family and friends after that.
Absolutely love that. The book is called A Disturbing Injustice. So much that you went through. I am dropping the link into the comments in case a person didn't see it up in the description. They can see it there as well. You got to get the book. It is free this weekend. So if you jump in and get it right now, you can get the ebook for free. Either way, though, you'd absolutely need to get A Disturbing Injustice by Dr. Scott Geise. Scott, I appreciate all that you've been through. And thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the show today.
Excellent, Steve. Thanks so much.
Just trying to get it to end for us.
Yeah.
Oh, sheesh.